works. There we go. I think that'll work. Okay. I think we're okay. All right. Hello. Put that at the back there. All right. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Sorry for the late arrival, everyone. But how is everyone today? All right. We'll wait for a few minutes here. We'll get people in and things like that. We'll get started with that. All right. Okay, okay. We're doing okay today. Let's do this. Gotta do this. Okay. Let's pop on right here. Good morning. I'm Julio. All right. Hi, Julio. I'm doing very well, my friend. I'm glad you were able to make it today. I hope you're ready for this 8 week 8 week course here, technical mathematics. Hope you can hear me okay. Yeah. You're ready? All right. Very good. Very good. We're gonna start in a few minutes here, so we'll get people going. No worries. This is not a super high pressure class, I can assure you that. We're gonna start in like 2, 3 minutes. We'll wait for other people to come on in if they want to come in. So I know some people have time issues here, so which I totally understand. Hey, Vicente, or is it Vicente or Vicente? With a che or a se, or Vicente? I wanna say it correct. How are you, my friend? I'm doing very good. With a se? All right, gotcha. Vicente, gotcha. Gotcha, my friend, gotcha. All right. We're gonna get started in about a minute. So anybody else who's gonna come in, will come in. I guess when they feel okay. So shouldn't be too much of a problem, in my opinion. So yeah. All right, get going here. Alrighty. Okay, so then we got this, and I got that. Okay, we're gonna be pretty good to go. All right. Shouldn't be too bad. All right. As good as timing as any. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, let's get started today. All right, welcome back to the very first day of this 8-week semester. All right. Um, uh, you are in Math 097. Okay. Basic technical mathematics for this fall. All right. So this is the first day of this class anyway. There has been another class that has been running for the past few weeks. So one of those classes, one of the first 8-week class was over. There's a 16-week class running, and I'll expand upon that a little bit more a little bit later on. And we're running this class here, an 8-week class. So again, going to be talking about a lot of technical mathematics. Now, today we're going to go over the syllabus here. We're going to also do the first chapter as well. All right, so that's what's on the agenda here for today, is just kind of getting the syllabus, the rules out of the way. And then once we get that stuff out of the way, we go ahead and start with chapter 1 after we explain everything through. All right. So let's go ahead and go over the syllabus here. Now this, by the way, can be found on Blackboard. All right, so if you wanted to like to print out a copy or whatever, like to reference the syllabus at some point, you go ahead and do so. Again, that's on Blackboard, on the Blackboard for the course there. So it shouldn't be too bad. Should be ready to go. Now, uh, real quick here, again, remember one of the things in my class is that you can go ahead and ask questions at any time. Sometimes I'll prompt you and I'll say any questions. All I would just ask you to do is type no in the chat. Or again, if you do have a question, feel free to ask, okay? Again, this course is about understanding some of the basics, okay? And again, if you don't understand something, hey, I'd like everybody to be on the same page as best as possible. All right. And I'll often do that. So it's not like I'm going to be like, oh, I'll just ignore you for a while. No, I'll do that fairly often. Now, let's talk about the course in general. All right, so this is the Math 097 W80. Again, there's other sections here if you're part of the apprenticeship program. All right, credit hours, this is the 3 credit hour course. Again, we're going to meet from today out until the 13th there of December. We may extend that date just a little bit, just because I think, let me reference that here really quick. I think the 13th of December is just that last week there. Yeah, it's just that last week there. So if we need to extend that time out for a few days, then I can. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. Where are we meeting? We're meeting right here on this Twitch channel. So if you're on this Twitch channel, great. Okay, that's wonderful. I'll describe a little bit more about this Twitch channel in a few minutes. Okay, pretty much we're doing lecture here. Now, we'll also talk about this here in the syllabus. We'll talk about online expectations, which is my math lab. So if you've never used my math lab before, my math lab is the online component to doing the doing the homework here in this course. Okay, so I will describe that in greater detail, but everyone does have to register for my math lab in order to do the online homework here for the class. So like I said, much more to expand upon here in the syllabus in regards to that, but that's kind of the basic idea so far. Okay, drop with refund. Again, the last day to drop is next week, I guess, and then the last day to withdraw with a refund, yeah. Last day to withdraw is the 30th of November, so if you do have to drop, and I hope you don't, but if you do for whatever reason, then I totally understand. All right, I try to keep this thing, as relaxed as possible, so it is what it is. All right. My name is Ali Malik. It's fairly simple. It's 3 letters. You don't have to call me professor, nothing. You can just call me Ali. It's just easier if you want to. This is my phone number here. Again, if you need to call me on the phone number for an emergency purposes, you can go ahead and call me on the phone number for emergency purposes. All right. That's fine. This is my email address on campus, so again, feel free to email me at email@harpercollege.edu. That's my preferred way of communication. So you go ahead and call me. Call me if it's an emergency, or again, if you have a question about homework or something like that. Feel free to contact me via email. That is the easier way to get through to me. All right. Next is again office location. Now, obviously, nobody's really meeting on campus unless you're going for you're not really meeting on campus here for this semester unless you're going to the lab, manufacturing lab. Then I would say, I would normally be on D211. Sadly, of course, that's not the case since, the whole COVID crisis and whatnot. So, yeah, I said D211 would be my normal office. But in order to contact me, again, just email me. We can make an appointment, or we could just talk after class once we're done. That's perfectly fine as well. Like I said, preferred method of communication, email is the preferred method. There's also a discussion board on Blackboard there if you want to ask questions on there. I usually answer those questions within 24 hours, but pretty much 100% of people contact me via email. So, yeah, if you want to use the discussion board, you can. It's there for just, it's there. It's there. But if, most people usually just contact me via email anyway, and I usually respond back to them pretty quickly. All right. Let's talk about what this course is going to be about. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about an overview of what this course is all about. Now, the one thing that this course is about is basically we talk about basic arithmetic, so your plus, minus, times, divide, which is what we'll cover here today, all the way up to trigonometry. But one thing that you'll have to understand is that we're just talking about skimming the surface of each one of these concepts, okay? So we're talking about, we're not getting into super detail here. We're not doing super college algebra stuff or anything like that. We're talking skimming the surface only. So in-depth stuff is really not what we're looking for here. What we're literally looking for here is really getting a way to actually practically use these concepts here in your daily routine, in your job, or in your life. Okay, so we want to find the practical side of things with these concepts more than the actual concept themselves. So uh, basically, a lot of the things that we'll be doing here in this course is going to revolve around word problems, how to critically think, how to approach problems here. Those things are going to be very, very important as we maneuver here through the course of the semester. So you'll see that quite often we'll be going through a lot of the word problems here when it comes to the concepts. So I may just take maybe a few minutes here, talk about the concept, but then actually apply it at the end of the day. Okay, so that's going to be pretty much the main topic here of this course. All right, a uh, just to give you a heads up. All right. Now, there's a lot of course outcomes. We'll talk about those course outcomes as we continue moving along. All right, so you're expected to use a computer here. All right, so that's fine. All right, a couple other things that can be helpful here. We'll talk about this. First and foremost is the book. Now, I know some of you may have questions about the book. I'm going to go ahead and show it up here on the camera. All right, so this is the book that I get for free from the college. Now, this is the Mathematics for the Trades, okay? Now, a question I often get here is, do I have to get the textbook? The answer is no. You do not have to get the textbook. And why is what why would you not recommend getting the textbook? It's because in my math lab, this is the electronic textbook here that I have on screen with my math lab. So if you get my math lab, you get an e-text with that. You can, again, if you prefer the paper copy, go ahead and purchase the bundle. It costs quite a bit of money, but you can go ahead and purchase it separately. It's basically your prerogative at the end of the day about what you want to do with that. Okay, so but you do get the e-text here for the course, so it's right there waiting for you. So that's why I say, hey, save a bit of money, get just the My Math Lab access code, and then you'll get the electronic text to go along with it, so you don't have to go very far out of your way to go get it. So that's something that I can certainly suggest in that case. All right. Um, let's see. I need to go back here. There we go. All right. Yeah. Also, to kind of go along with this, we have the TI-83, TI-84. Again, you could use a graphing calculator or a basic calculator. I don't care which one you use. All right, calculator is suggested, definitely suggested for this course. A lot of things will require the calculator anyway. All right, so we're going to definitely be using that quite extensively for this class. All right, so um, because again, I'm thinking on the realistic end, if we're going to be using this for your job, if you're going to be using this for, if you're going to be using this for kind of an everyday operation, probably a calculator is what you'll have on hand, whether it be on your phone or whether it be, just one of those small ones that they provide you in the shop or whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that again, you'll probably have one on hand. So we're going to talk about, what we need to do or what we, numbers we need to enter necessarily to solve particular problems using it. Okay. Um, okay, let's talk about grading criteria here. Homework's going to be worth 195 points. We're going to have 2 exams in class here, each worth 100 points, so a total of 200 points, and a final exam here, which may change up the due date. Well, probably that'll be the due date. I'm not sure. But still, the final exam's only worth 100 points, so a total of 495 points here is for this class. Okay, so it's not too bad. Again, fairly straightforward. Now let's talk about here. Actually, before I move on here to talking about homework in general, are there any questions that you have so far? All right, I'll stop there for just a second. So if you don't have any questions, type no in the chat. If you do have some questions, please feel free to go ahead and do so. All right. Well, if there are no questions then, that's perfectly fine. We'll go ahead and talk about homework here. Oh, where can we get the access code? Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm going to talk about where you can get that access code there. Now, it depends, actually. I should answer that now. Um, so there's going to be 2 scenarios here. It depends on whether or not you get financial aid. So if you get financial aid, all right. So if you get financial aid, go to the bookstore, all right, because the bookstore will have the necessary paperwork to handle your financial aid stuff, and then you can get the access code from there. Okay, so they'll take care of everything. They're like, okay, they'll link to your financial aid, and then they'll be like, here's here's an access code, and they'll give you a small little, paper packet or something like that. If you don't have financial aid, all right, so if you do not have financial aid, all right, then go to mymathlab.com. Okay, so you can go to literally mymathlab.com and you can register there. I'll talk more about the registration process uh, um, a little bit later on, but yeah, so it just depends which situation that you fall underneath. So that's where you can get the access code. You'll also need one more piece of information that I'll talk about here. What if your book will come later this week? That's perfectly fine. That is not a problem. You will not be behind in this course. I can guarantee you that, Brenton. So, Lori, sorry. Um, so if your book comes later, that's fine. Uh, you're not going to be behind whatsoever. It's going to be, pretty straightforward. Again, if you want, you get the e-text anyway by getting the access code for the course. So you can always use the e-text there once you get the access code from MyMathLab, and you can go ahead and use that. So you don't have to worry about falling behind just because the book's physically not in your hands. I totally understand that. Trust me, my due dates are very, very relaxed here in this course, so you don't have to really worry about. You have to worry too much about that. I try and keep things as easy and simple as possible. All right. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the homework here. Now, homework will be posted on my math lab. Homework will be worth 5 points for each section and due the day of the corresponding test. So the points on my math lab is not the same as listed above, meaning to say you could have one section that has 10 questions, one section that has 15 questions or whatever. Basically, I'm going to scale them to a 5 point per assignment. So essentially, I take a look at all of your percentage of what you got correct, and then I basically multiply that by 5, and then basically give you a score based off of that. And that's pretty much how I do every single section. So it's exactly what you put in. If you get 50% of 5 points, I'm giving you 2.5 points exactly. Okay, if I'm giving you, if you have 89.75%, I'm giving you 89.75% of 5 points. So you get in what you put out. It won't be like a 0 or 5. All right, I don't do that sort of thing. All right, 5 gets you means you did 100% correct. 0 means you just didn't do it at all. So um, yeah, it's pretty straightforward in terms of how the point structure will work. Now, as for the homework there and when it's due, homework is typically due the day of the corresponding test. Now, in this class here, we're only going to have a test. We're going to only have 2 tests. So the 2 tests here are at the first half of class and then the second half of class, essentially. So um, I always make an announcement here when it comes to exams, okay? Um, again, it shouldn't be too tough to really do. Again, you have 2 attempts per exam, and the best score will be taken for pretty much the exams. So again, there'll be also a practice test put up as well, so that way you have a chance to go ahead and practice stuff out if you need to. That's kind of like a no pressure thing. Again, the practice test reflects the actual test pretty much question for question. So again, it's like I'm not sure what these questions will look like. Well, with the practice test that I put up, you'll actually know what kind of questions that I'll put up there. Now, the exact questions may not appear on the exam, on the real exam, but still, it's at least you'll have a realistic expectation. Um, all right. The final exam here will be a cumulative final exam. That'll be also worth 100 points, and that'll be due kind of the last day of class there. So, and once we get closer to the final exam time, we'll talk more about that. But that's really what we're looking at here for the entirety of the points for the course. Okay. All right. So let's talk about other couple things here. Uh, no late work, because I mean, I'll give you plenty of time of which to finish, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. No makeup exams. Again, there should be plenty of time in which to finish, given the makeup exam and whatnot. Where will the practice test be? Also on my math lab, in the same place that you'll find the test. So you'll find it pretty much, hand in hand. So practice test will be exactly on my math lab. You get instant feedback on that. So um, yeah, it's really not too bad. So I'll try and keep the practice test there. Yeah, it. Trust me, it's not. I try to keep things as transparent as possible when it comes to my class, so that way you guys are informed as much as possible about what's going on. And yeah, the practice test is with the real test in the same area. So, any other questions before we move forward? No. Okay. No. All right. All right. No problem. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about a couple of things here in regards to the class. All right. First of all, we'll be coming here every Monday and Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, okay, to 12:45. Now, to be realistic here, excuse me, there will be days where we don't go the full time, okay, because the amount of material just may not fill up the full time. We may end up 2 hours is 2 hours is typically the farthest we go, but again it just depends on the pace of the class and how much material needs to be done for that particular day. So obviously since we're meeting for 8 weeks, so a lot of the material, a lot of the stuff may go end up going a little bit faster than what you normally are used to. Just do understand though, if it is too much or too overwhelming or too fast, please stop me and just ask a question. Be like, hey, you're going a little too fast. I need you to slow down a little bit, and I need you to kind of explain things again. That's very important to me. I want you to stop me and say, hey, I don't quite get it, because again, I want everybody to be on the same page as much as possible. So this isn't a class about me. This is a class about you and learning as much as you humanly possibly can to hopefully better yourself later on. That's the most important thing to me. That's the whole goal at the end of the day. Now, the way it works here is, as for Twitch, is let's talk about replays. Okay, so this stream, after it's finished, will be immediately here up on my channel here on Twitch, which will stay here for 14 days, up to 14 days after the live stream is over. This will stay on a replay up to 14 days. So 2 weeks you can watch this replay. So if you happen to miss a day because, life happens or whatever, okay, you can come back here to the channel. You'll see an immediate replay, and then you'll have the whole lecture in front of you, no problem. Also, because this only lasts 2 weeks here on Twitch, 24 hours after the live stream is over, I will then post this replay here up to my YouTube channel for archives. So it's like if you kind of like the YouTube stuff, then again I'll post that about 24 hours after the end of the live stream. So again, that's per Twitch guidelines. So again, because of per Twitch guidelines, it has to be 24 hours. All right. So unfortunately, I'm not allowed to do it beforehand, but I'm gonna follow the rules as is. So you could come here to Twitch here if you want to like view it later on. All right. Or if you want to, again, go to YouTube because that's what you're comfortable with, you'll just have to wait a day and then you can go ahead and watch it on YouTube. Um, Now, another thing to kind of get to know here is that, yes, as I kind of mentioned here at the beginning of class very briefly, yes, there is a 16-week class that is running concurrent to your class. Now, that class there meets at 5 p.m. And again, here on the same channel on Twitch. So that meets at 5 p.m. And technically, we are starting in the middle of the book here with chapter 6 starting today and going up to chapter 10. If you feel like you want to join in on those lectures for whatever reason, then of course I give you the option to do so. Um, Again, that's available and waiting for you. All right, if you'd like to join in at those times. Now, I know that's very far ahead because, of course, we just started here today. But again, I always give options because everybody's got a thing, so which is completely understandable. So, um, I'm not here to force your hand. It's just another option on the table. One more option that's on the table is because currently with the 16-week class, there was a 8-week class that actually ran before this. And I've uploaded pretty much all of the, yeah, I think most or all of the lectures from that class, which will be pretty similar to the lectures I'll give here in this class. So if you want to work ahead a little bit and you say, hey, I want to see the lecture from the next day or whatever, then you can. It may look a little bit different, but I always give that option as well. So again, that's kind of like a more of an unexpected option. But again, that's just the way things have turned out this semester. But like I said, as many options as I can give you, hopefully it makes it flexible for you at the end of the day. Are there any questions about that? Nope. All right. Okay. Okay. So, uh, let's talk about attendance. Now, like I said before, attendance isn't really mandatory for this class. It's to better yourself at the end of the day. There are consequences for absences. Yeah, the consequence in reality is actually, again, you not being able to necessarily ask me questions at that time, okay, or maybe not being able to understand it at that time. So, you know, obviously, if you like the more face-to-face sort of thing, this is as close as it's going to get right now. Preferably, trust me, everybody, I would prefer if we all met face-to-face. It would be a lot better. I love face-to-face classes because I could get to know you each a little bit more personally. But the reason why I use Twitch over Zoom is I'm not a big fan of Zoom because I think Zoom is just like in a corporate meeting environment, and I'm not a corporate guy. So I think that also on Twitch here you can be a little bit more anonymous. So you can go ahead and ask questions without any fear at all. So again, you could ask me anything at any time, and that's perfectly okay. So no problem, right? So we can sit and chill, have a good time, and I think Twitch is a good platform in order to do that. So um, math is a subject that's very super dry, so I try and spice it up a little bit. That's a little bit more fun than maybe maybe doing a corporate meeting on Zoom. So yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to see your faces on Zoom, but at the same time, I recognize that each of you have other things that you need to do in the background. Maybe you're taking care of kids. Maybe you gotta hit the restroom. Maybe you gotta eat some food. Whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. Okay, you guys can do that while you're sitting and listening and talking to me. So that's perfectly cool. So we got a little bit more flexibility, in my opinion, with Twitch. All right. Okay, behavioral expectations. Behave. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Good. Academic dishonesty. Don't cheat. Okay. Good. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Good. We're equal opportunity. Yes, that's true. Um, um, ADS. So if you have a disability of any variety, um, for a lot of you have already been contacted about that. But again, um, throw me a reminder if you do have a disability that we'll need to kind of work around. I've been working a little bit behind the scenes, but if uh, if I'm not made aware of it, then that's okay. Now, I'll work with anybody who has disability accommodations of any type. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Trust me, I'm super easy to work with. Really, really shouldn't be too much of a problem. It's like time on tests. I'll give you whatever amount of time you want. So just put it that way. I'll be willing to work with you as much as humanly possible to get you going. All right. Uh, we're veteran friendly. That's good. There are some things on campus that are still available. Maybe not actually like you going to campus necessarily, but there's like online tutoring that you can do. So you can go ahead and do that there. You could call like the tutoring center to get online tutoring if you need help. Of course, you can certainly contact me and be like, hey, I need your help about this question, that question, this topic, that topic. Cool, I'm down with that. So, no problem. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right. Okay. So here's a tentative week by week schedule about what we're doing. All right. So honestly, it shouldn't be that hard to do. We should have things pretty much squared away. Again, there'll be no class on, think, yeah, the 25th is a Wednesday, so due to Thanksgiving holiday. So, yeah, there's that. Okay. So does anybody have any questions so far about the syllabus? No. Okay. No. All right. All right. So let's talk about the next part here. Okay, so the next part here talks about my math lab. All right, so um, this can also be found on in Blackboard. So you could go to like Blackboard and be like, okay, you go to course materials and you'll find it in there. And this is the course ID for the class, so you'll need to copy this down, or again, you can go to Blackboard and reference this once again. But it'll be Malik62095 is going to be the course ID for the class. All right. So you get the access code. The access code is going to give you registration, and then the specific course is going to be this course ID. So you'll need the access code and the course ID to go ahead and register for the class. Now, this is kind of an old document here. It may not cost $75. It may cost a little more, depending on if it's a 18-week or a full year. You really want to get the 18 week, obviously being an 8-week class, so get the 18 weeks. You should be okay. I've heard prices to be like 70 some odd dollars or 60 some odd dollars for like the 18-week access code, so something to that effect. You'll just go ahead and register here. Again, one thing to keep in mind is to remember to register properly. What I mean by that is when you register, again, please be sure to spell your registration name correctly, because if you don't, you get one chance at it and you will have to incorrectly spell every time that you log in. So be sure you spell that right for your name there, especially your handle. So that's kind of important there. All right. Okay. Now, if you guys have any questions about my math lab, about exactly how to register, or if you're having issues with registering for my math lab, please let me know right away, and I'll be happy to guide you through the process there about how to go ahead and do that. So it's not too hard to do. It does take a little time, but again, as I've mentioned here, if you do have financial aid, you have to go to the bookstore to get properly compensated. If you don't, you can use a credit card through the My Math Lab store there, and again, you can go ahead and do it that way as well. So totally up to you which way you want to go through. But again, I want to give you options on the table. All right, so that isn't too bad. Now, let's go to my math lab, actually. Oops, that's not where I wanted to go. Oh, yeah, that's over here. Okay. So this is the book here. Now I'm going to go over into my math lab. My math lab is going to look like this. What you'll see here is maybe not what you see on my screen, but you'll see this name here of Math 97 Fall 2020. Now what you can do is you can get temporary access that only lasts like 2 weeks, and any work that you actually did will not save appropriately if you register after the expiration date. So be sure to not do temporary access, okay? It's again only lasts for 2 weeks, so it's not the greatest. Now, once you click into the course here, okay, so you can see there's a grade book and everything. Again, there's the e-text here on the left-hand side. There is the assignments tab, so you can click on the assignments tab here, and there you will see all the assignments which are listed for the entire course. Okay, so all of the assignments are listed for the entire class. There you go. So again, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to work ahead, you got the option to work ahead if you like. Again, it's totally up to you on how you want to handle that at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm just pointing that out there so it's not like, oh, I didn't see where that came from. No, there it is. It's right there. Okay, so you can do all the stuff there. Cool. All right. Okay, so that's what my math lab is going to generically look like here for the course. All right, so if you're not sure where to find assignments, also yes, that's right. One other very important thing is remember to turn off pop-up blockers. Okay, sometimes when you click on it, depending on what what browser you're using, then it may not show up because of that fact. So turn off pop-up blockers when you go onto this website, so that way you get the proper prompts to come up. So some of you may have Chromebooks, some of you may have just Windows, or some of you have Macs. So again, it just depends. Okay. Any questions about my math lab there, about how that'll work? I have one more thing to talk about my math lab, but any questions so far about my math lab? Okay. Now, the other thing I want to talk about here for my math lab is on the homework, not for the test, but for the homework, you you're confused about how to get the access code. Your employer is paying for this. Um, hmm. So, okay. So what you could do is you can ask your employer to see if they could compensate you. If they could, let's say, you could tell your employer and be like, okay, um, I need this for my class. And then if your employer's paying for it, see if they pay as like a business expense or something like that. So you can see how that goes. Or again, if they want you to get it from the bookstore, then you can. So you can ask them. You can ask them which way you want to go, and then see which way that they go in terms of giving you uh, giving you proper compensation for that. So I would ask your whoever's in charge of doing the that side of things. Go ahead and ask them and see what they have to say about that, so you can get compensated. Yeah. Like if it was financial aid, then it'd be like, well, the college can take care of that. But yeah, sometimes when it's like apprenticeship stuff, sometimes every employer is very different about how they want a certain thing done. So that's why I say, hey, go to your uh, go to your budget office or HR office or whatever, and then you can take care of that. Okay. Now, the next thing is that right. One last thing about my math lab that I do want to point out is that every every question you get unlimited tries. Now, what do I mean by unlimited tries? Now, unlimited tries in my math lab is very different than that of, say, what unlimited tries really means. It doesn't mean you get to try the same question, infinite amount of times. Here's what happens in my math lab. Basically, you get 3 tries per question. So let's say I'm adding these two, I just guess 100. Okay, it's going to tell me that I'm wrong. Maybe I guess 100 again. It tells me I'm wrong again. It'll give me a third try here, a third try. Let's say I put in 100 again, or the wrong answer again a third time. And it'll tell me I'm wrong. It'll tell me the correct answer here. Now, what you'll see here is you'll see a similar question. So you'll see this button here that says similar question. You can go ahead and click on that button that says similar question, and it'll just be the same type of question with different numbers. And then you get 3 tries on that. And you could continue to do that until you get it correct, and then it will count it as proper credit. Okay, so I get this right. All right, so there you go. And then I can move on to the next question and get full credit, as you can see here. Oh, maybe not as you can see here because I'm blocking the way. But let me move this over just a smidge. So you can see here that I got credit for this particular problem. And again, one very important thing is make sure to save. So if you want to save your progress there, you can hit save, and then it will save your progress. So make sure to save so all those answers that you put in correctly will be counted. Okay, so make sure to hit the save key there. That's kind of important. All right, so that's basically how it's going to go for my math lab in terms of how we actually look at it how you actually can do problems there. All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so are there any questions about my math lab, the syllabus, myself, anything? Anything you would like to know? No. Okay, good stuff. Okay, now I want to actually ask you one more question here. Now, oftentimes what will happen is sometimes we'll run a little longer than maybe we'll run a little long. So again, if we run a little long, I don't mean like the full 2 hours and 45 minutes, but maybe one section takes, or one or a couple sections take a little bit of time, which can easily happen. Sometimes they may run a little bit of time here. What I always ask is 2 hours and 45 minutes is a long time to sit and talk to one, is basically listening to one person. It's not so easy to do. So I'm going to ask here to see if what you guys would want to do is if you wanted to say take a break in the middle, if it needs to be, or do we need to take a break, or do you want to just keep going until we finish? Basically, I'm just going to take a poll here on what you guys would like to do. If we basically take a break, then we get out a little bit later, but you guys can, hit the restroom, do whatever you need to do. If we don't take a break, we get done a little bit earlier. We still gonna get the same stuff accomplished, obviously, day by day. But I want to see, let's do it the old democratic way. Let's see what you guys vote for. So if you guys want to do a break in between a little bit, or do you want to just keep going? So I'll pose that question to you right now. All right. Okay. Okay. So we have one person for break, one person for either or. All right. Two people for break. All right. Two for either or. All right. Anybody else want to chime in? Okay. So then what we'll do is we'll do a break. That's perfectly fine. I have no problems doing that whatsoever. I think that's perfectly okay. Because again, if that's what you guys want, that's what I'm gonna roll with. All right. So again, I always like the input and stuff. So very, very important. All right. So if we go about like a little over like an hour or so, then we take a small break, and then we come back in like 10, 15 minutes, and then we restart again. Okay. So pretty much gives you enough time to go ahead and do what you need to do, and then come back, and then sit and you'll sit and chill for a little bit, and then we just do our thing. Okay. It's about let's see, it's about 10:50 now, so we've gone through the syllabus and whatnot. So how about we do that right now, actually? How about we take a break here, and we will come back at I'm gonna come back at 11:05. Okay, so let's come back at 11:05. All right, and we're gonna get started here with chapter 1. Okay, so we're gonna get started with chapter 1 at 11:05. So let's take a break since that's what you guys voted for. Okay, and we'll be right back. Okay, 15 minutes. All right, you guys can do what you need to do. Again, if you need to ask me questions, go ahead and ask me questions in the chat. I'm still going to be here on camera. I'm going to probably shut my mic off here for for a few minutes here while I go munch on something. All right, we'll be back in 15. Alrighty. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, we are back. All right, everybody back? All right. So it's 11:05. We're gonna make our way back. All right. Can everybody hear me? I hope so. Make sure that this is working right. Okay. Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and get started here with the second half of class. We're going to go ahead and start here with chapter 1. All right, so that's what's on the agenda here for today. We're going to finish up all of chapter 1 here. Now, much of chapter 1 is going to be stuff that you've heard before, so a lot of this is not going to be like overly too hard to really do. What is important, however, is what our approach is going to be here in order to tackle some of these problems here. So even as easy as a plus minus times divide, what we really want to look at is how to look at a lot of these different type of problems here in order to solve them appropriately. So chapter 1 is basically going to be addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and order of operations. Okay, so I think most people know how to add two numbers together. That isn't too hard to do, especially with given a calculator here. Now, what is important though is let's talk about section 1.1, which is the addition section. Now, as I mentioned here before, it's not hard to add 2, 3 numbers together. That's fairly simple. But what we are going to be looking at here specifically from this first section all the way up through the end of the semester here is we're going to be looking at word problems here, and we're going to be wondering how to attack those word problems. Now, I break it up into attacking word problems here into two parts so we could do our critical thinking. The first part here into finding out how we do word problems is the interpretation, okay, which I will label to be 90% of the problem here is in interpretation. Because if we don't interpret the problem correctly, then we'll get it wrong 100% of the time. So we want to go ahead and be like, hey, we got to be able to interpret it correctly, otherwise, bad juju happens. The second part here is calculation. And calculation is the last 10%. Okay, so the first 90%, we're going to talk about how to interpret that problem and then be able to calculate that problem for the last 10%. Once we got all the numbers put in the right places, we go ahead and do the rest of the problem out. So a lot of the things that I'll stress on here will be just over that first part there, and then we'll talk about the second part as kind of like saying, oh, this is the result of doing the correct interpretation. Now, what does that mean overall in the grand scheme of things? Well, in order for us to do the interpretation here correctly, even as something as easy as say addition word problems here, what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking for keywords here. Okay, so let's talk about keys to interpretation. Okay, so the first key here to interpretation is look for keywords. Okay, look for keywords. Now, this is very important here. We want to look for keywords here. So let's take a look here at a word problem. Okay, and this is from the book. So I'm going to go ahead and make this like so. Okay. No, okay. All right, so I'm going to go over here to the next page, actually, which page I want to do. Okay. So let's take a good look here at number 8. Okay. So I'm going to take a look here at number 8, and we'll figure out how we can solve for this, okay? So it says a mechanic is taking inventory of oil in stock. He has 24 quarts of 10W30, 8 quarts of 30W, 42 quarts of 20W50, 16 quarts of 10W40, and 21 quarts of 20W40. How many total quarts of oil does he have in stock? So what we want to look here is we're going to see a couple of things in this problem here. Now, by itself, this problem is very, very easy. Okay, I don't think many of you have a tough time at least solving for this. But there are important things that we can certainly glean off of a problem like this that'll be very important. So, um, so the question really becomes is, what is the key word here in a problem like number 8? What's the keyword that pretty much tells us that we have to do addition? What do you think the keyword is to do, say, the addition here in this problem? That's correct. All right, very nice. The answer is total. All right, so when we see the keyword here of total, that's basically telling us that we are going to have to add those values there together. So that's one of the things that certainly is very important here. Look for keywords. So for, again, in addition, we look for the words total or sum or plus or add. Okay, so we look for all of those words, for example, for addition. I'll add a few more here when we get through the other operations, but we look for those important keywords there. All right, and that pretty much tells us that's that's what we got to do is add up all those particular values together. Now, I'm going to talk about something else here in this problem that you may not have seen, but is a common mistake here in a lot of when a lot of people do these type of word problems. So let's talk about that. So the second key to interpretation is is not every number in the word problem will be used. Okay? This is a very important concept here. We're going to look at a lot of word problems in this class, but there are going to be some cases where certain numbers will never be used in that word problem whatsoever. It's just sitting there. It's a red herring. Basically, it sits there and it does nothing. All right. So in effect, if you take a look at this one here, this is pretty simplistic, but the numbers that won't be useful are the types of oil. Like, okay, 10W30, okay, great. What does 10W30 have to do with the problem? It doesn't have anything to do with the problem at all. It's just a designation of the type of oil that that person particularly has. All right, so they don't mean anything at the end of the day. The thing that matters is only the total quarts of oil that we actually have. So we don't care about the types, we only care about how much we have. So again, those type of things you'll notice in a lot of word problems in this book is that a lot of problems do have some of those red herrings, those things that you have to be very careful about to make sure that that doesn't go into your total calculation at the end of the day. So we're going to be on the lookout for that, and I'll certainly point those out as those problems come along. Okay. Now the next thing that we'll talk about here in number 3 at the very least is we're going to talk about how we look at some of these word problems here in terms of context. So context is very important for word problems. So essentially what you're doing is you're asking yourself the question, what am I trying to solve for? You know, so what am I trying to solve for is really the question here. So even though this question is super easy, okay, no question. The question's super easy, all right? But it asks for the total amount of quarts of oil that we have in stock. So that's how we know that we're just adding up the quarts of oil here in order to get to our final answer. Okay, so we're not like, again, we're taking it just one step at a time, and we're just going over the interpretation in order to understand that, yeah, quarts are the only thing that matters since that's all they ask us about. Okay. The next key to interpretation, of course, is to, as we talked about here, read the problem carefully. And I do stress the word carefully here. Again, if you read through it too fast, you may miss some important key pieces of information. So read through it very slowly and try to digest it. If you need to read it 2 or 3 times, you read it 2 or 3 times slowly to see if you can pick up on any of the subtle hints in order to help you with that interpretation for that problem. Okay, each one here will have a subtle hint of which to do. So again, we'll take a look at what those hints are necessarily. Some of them are more obvious than others, but you get the general idea. Okay. So in this particular case, again, let's talk about what we have to do here for this problem. We're going to go ahead and add up all the quarts here together. So let's see. Okay. Okay, so for example here, this could be mm, what is this? Let's go back to the problem here for a second. So we have 24 plus 42 plus 16 plus 21. So, oh, 24 plus 8, sorry. 24 plus 8 plus 42 plus 16. See, even I have to go back and read it again. Plus 16 plus 21. And then we go ahead and figure out what that is. So can anybody give me an answer for this? What would be our final answer for this problem? How many quarts of oil do we have? Okay, good. So 111. So again, we would get 111, and then we would put it in the correct context here, 111 quarts. All right, is what we get here. So again, here for this problem here, we would get 111 quarts. Oops, just forget it does that. Okay, so notice I put a little label there at the end. Labeling will be very important there. So be sure to make sure you have the proper labels for that. Okay. The reason why I say label your units, because some problems that we'll see later on will have a different unit set that we may need to convert. So again, because we may need to convert from one set of units to another in order to do a particular problem, that's why I say label your units so you know what you're working with. Okay, so not everything's going to be as straightforward as, say, this problem, but you get the general idea about where we're going with a lot of the problems that we're doing for this class. Okay, so it's not intended to be super hard, but it's intended to be it's intended to just kind of guide you there. All right. Are there any questions over addition problems, or most people are pretty comfortable with addition problems? Like I said, I'm not going to spend a super long time on each section for chapter 1 anyway, because there are things that you've learned a long time ago, and I don't want to necessarily bore you to death. So with things that are not super important. Okay. Right. You good? Excellent. All right. All right. Next, we're going to go over to page 27. Come. So the next section here, we talk about subtraction. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of word problems here from subtraction. All right, and we're going to see exactly, what we're working with. Okay, now a couple of things that is important is, again, practical applications. For example, say such as machine trades. Certainly that can be very, very helpful in that regard. So let's take a good look here at some ways we can, say, use subtraction in a practical setting, such as a shop or anything of the variety. So let's look at a couple of these problems here, and you guys can help me out here. Okay. Um, so how about 8a? So we're going to determine the missing dimension here. So this missing dimension here is labeled as L, and I'm gonna, can I make that bigger? Okay, let's fit the width. There we go, got it. So can anybody tell me what letter A would be? What would letter A be? What would be this length here? What would letter A be here in this case? How would you solve for this figure here? 9? Okay, that's correct. So all you have to do here, simply put, is you're just going to do 17 minus 8. Okay, so 17, let's go over here for a second. So it's 17 minus 5 minus 3, okay, which is equal to 9. So 9 inches is what we get here. Okay, so by far and away, not hard. But again, there you go, a practical use for that. Now, one other thing is when we talk about subtraction here, specifically subtraction, we also want to talk about some of the other keywords there for subtraction that you may see later on. So let's at least talk about that. So subtraction keywords here are going to be difference, minus, less. Okay, you may see the word less. Guess for like this one here, you'd be like more. How much? That's actually subtracted by. Okay, so for subtraction, these are some keywords here that we can certainly see. Leftover, okay, whatever the case may be. All right, so subtraction by itself, not too bad. Pretty easy there. All right, let's do another one here. Yep. Let's do one more here, really fast. Okay, how about letter C? What would the answer for letter C be? This picture here for letter C. So what would this one here be? Letter C. 4. Okay, excellent. All right, easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, so all you had to do here was 14 minus 8 minus 2. Okay, so you see the dimensioning here. All right, and then we found the missing dimension there of 2. So, of 4, sorry. And there we go. Got it. Okay, no problem. Okay, so subtraction there, again, you can see like, again, what's the difference? Find the missing one here if you're given this. Okay, there's a whole lot of different ones here that we could certainly use, but you get the general idea. Alrighty. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so that's about subtraction. Alright. Questions, I guess? Again, like I said, most of this is pretty fast, so. Nope. Alright, we'll move on. Like I said, not a whole ton going on. All right, let me go to section 1.3, which is multiplication. Okay, so let's talk about multiplication. All right, so what are some keywords here for multiplication? Multiplication, we'll have the keywords of product, times, multiply. All right. Word, what's this? You also see the word of. We'll talk more about of a little bit later in the course, but of is also one of them. So you'll kind of see that as well. Now, let's take a look here at some problems for section 1.3. We'll see how to go ahead and do them. Okay. Okay, so let's take a good look here at, sure. Let's take a look here at number 13, okay? All right, so if a machine produces 16 screws per minute, how many screws will it produce in 24 hours? All right, so what would be the answer to this problem here? Number 13. What would the answer be here for number 13? $23,040. All right, so how did we get that? I agree, that's the answer. So how'd you get the answer there, Jasmine? What'd you do? Okay, good. That's right. So, absolutely correct. Okay, so the thing is that again, one of the things that was read into it, and I like the way you kind of wrote out your work there for that one, Jasmine, just to think about your thought process there. So the thing that you have to be careful about is how certain word problems are written, and this is a very good example of that. And you can see it's being a little sneaky. Again, it says produces 16 screws per minute. So if you just did 16 times 24, you would actually end up to be wrong. Remember, it's 16 screws per minute, not 16 screws per hour. Okay, so again, that context here in these word problems is very important because what it forced us to do is exactly as Jasmine said, we need to figure out how many minutes there are in 24 hours. So it took 24 times the 60 and then multiplied it by the 16, okay, which is correct. Okay, so the issue is again, context is very, very important. So we get, again here, 23,000, we get, let me bring up the little tool here. So again, we do 24 times 60, all right, or again, that'd be 1440, and then multiply that by 16, where we get the correct answer here of 23,040 screws. Okay, now one of the other things that you could have also done is you could take, again, the 16 times the 60, okay, since that's 16 per minute, and then multiply that by 24 to get the same answer. So again, people have different thought processes, all right, to get to the same result. So there's more than one way to get to the same answer. As long as that way is consistent, then you should be okay. All right. So the way you have to do it is just consistent. But again, if it's consistent, I'm not going to complain, all right, about how you do a problem as long as it's consistent. And that's all that matters. So I show you in this class, I show you a way. I just don't show you necessarily, it's not necessarily always have to be the way that you have to do that particular problem. So that's very important for me to tell you. It's like, hey, no, you don't have to do it this way that I present it to you. You can do it your own way that makes you feel comfortable. And as long as it's consistent like my method, okay, I'm not going to complain because again, it's about, what you feel comfortable with. All right. So there is that. All right, so you just have to be, again, be careful about the wording. So I guess I'll add that to my little tip sheet. And let's put a, so watch out for wording in all word problems. Okay. Okay. Uh, All right, let's go ahead and do the next one here. Are there any questions about multiplication? Hopefully that's not too hard to figure out. So, no? Okay. Okay, go ahead and do that. Okay, and then finally, let's go ahead and talk about the last well, not the last section, but section 1.4, division. All right, so that division by itself, not hard, okay? I think people are very comfortable with division. Again, I'm not going to make you do it by hand because that's not the point. Okay, again, the point is for us to use division here in a proper manner in order to solve for, you know, whatever the problem is going to be. Now, once again here, you may see some keywords here, so let's talk about division. Division's keywords could be divide, quotient. So quotient is another one. The word per, you may see the word per. That's another one. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out here. Divide, quotient, per, and thinking of one more here. Well, that's the only three I can think of off the top of my head right now. So, in any case, those are three that we can say for certain we're going to be using division in some form or fashion. Okay. What is per? Like miles per hour, like that. So in fact, what we're actually doing here is, this is something we'll see a little bit later, but when we say miles per hour, right? When we say miles per hour like this, everybody's seen this on their car, miles per hour. In fact, what it looks like this. It's the number of miles per, which is division, per hour. So what we're going to do here is we're going to interpret that as kind of like a division problem. This will be very important as we talk about conversions. Okay, this will make it a lot easier for conversions when we see, oh yeah, per just means this. Like when we say 60 miles per hour, we actually say, again, 60 miles per 1 hour. Okay, that's basically how it works in mathematics. 60 miles over 1 hour is 60 miles per hour. All right, so I just want to point that out here in this problem. So it's like it's not coming from nowhere. It's something that we've always used quite often, and it will pop up again here in chapter 5. Chapter 5, we're going to see a whole lot more of this. But it's good to get used to it now. Okay, let's do a problem here from division. Maybe a couple of them just depends. Okay. Okay, let's take a look here at number 9. Okay, so number 9 here, very important. So let's take a look at that one. So number 9 says, Mr. Martinez, owner of the Maya restaurant, hired a plumber who worked for 18 hours installing some new equipment. The total bill for labor and materials was $46.96. If the cost of materials was $3,400, how much was the plumber paid per hour? Okay, so how much was the plumber paid per hour? So what should we do here first in a problem like this? What do we do here first? What do you think we should do first here? Identify keywords, okay? This is true. All right, so what do you think? So we identify some keywords here. What are some keywords that we see here so far? Okay, that's right. So talk about keywords here. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to figure out how much we paid for the labor, right? Because the total bill for is $46.96, right? So that is a good keyword to